17 of the fantasy basketball season and the first week of most playoff matchups in your fantasy leagues. So here's a few centers I would look to drop this week. The first guy, Serge Ibaka, the Los Angeles Clippers. So Serge Ibaka, it's been tough for him the last month here. We thought he was going to be day-to-day with a little bit of a back injury, but right now it's more than tightness in my opinion. He might have snapped something up or got hurt bad, and we haven't seen him now in a month and a half here for Ibaka. So Ibaka, he's out again probably in this ball game here tonight at Portland for the Clippers. And right now he's still owned in 57% of fantasy leagues, but the last 3 or 4 weeks I've been saying to drop him because even if he does come back, I don't think he's going to be that productive. They're going to take it slow with him and try to ramp up his activity and playing time as the playoffs approach. But right now, Zubac, he's filling in well for Ibaka. And Ibaka, his numbers this season, they weren't all that great as well. 10.9 points a game, 6.7 rebounds, 1.7 assists, 1-3 a game, 82% from the foul line, 50% from the field, with 1.2 blocks a game. So he was a decent fantasy player, but right now, while it's all on the line in the playoffs, I wouldn't wait for him, and he should be dropped in more leagues right now is Ibaka. And I dropped him the last couple weeks because I just don't think he's coming back anytime soon, and even if he does, he won't be as productive. The next center is Daniel Theis of the Chicago Bulls. So Theis, he was doing well with the Boston Celtics, but they decided to trade him at the NBA trade line to Chicago. And obviously now, with Nikola Vukovic over there in Chicago, Theis, his playing time isn't going to be as much as it was in Boston. And on the season, he's ranked 148 in fantasy basketball, 9.4 points a game, 5.1 rebounds, 1.7 assists, 65% from the foul line, and 54% from the field in the last couple weeks for him. He's ranked 217, 10.8 points a game, 5.3 boards, 2.1 assists, 60% from the foul line, and 52% from the field from Theis. So Theis, he's playing still about 20-25 minutes a game, but the Bulls here, they have a lot of options, even though I know Zach LaVine's banged up now, and he might miss a few games here this week, but Theis, he just doesn't do enough of anything to be rostered in shallower fantasy leagues. Maybe 14-team leagues and deeper, you hold on to him. But the last few games, his numbers are nothing crazy. And there's better players on the wire. April 16th versus Memphis, 7 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. April 17th versus the Cavs, 8 points, 3 rebounds, an assist, a steal, and 2 threes. And then April 19th at Boston, yesterday, his former team, 6 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and a block. So Theis, he's putting up nothing special numbers. He'll get a few boards, he'll get a block a game about, and he'll get anywhere from 8 to 10 points a game, but that's not really going to cut it for fantasy owners. And at this time in the playoffs, you got to go out there and get impact guys, even if it's for a spot start or whatever on the waiver wire, to try to win your week in points leagues or head-to-head leagues. And the third and final center, I would look to get rid of this week's LaMarcus Aldridge of the Brooklyn Nets, and he retired last week as Aldridge, but right now he's still owned in 47% of fantasy leagues as Aldridge. And this guy, it's unfortunate he had to retire last week because of the irregular heartbeat. He was trying to chase a title, and his first title with the Nets this season, but it just wasn't in the cards for him. And obviously health is more important than basketball, and he had a great 15-year career was Aldridge, but right now I just think he's owned in way too many fantasy leagues at 47% right now, with a guy who said he's retired and not coming back after the heart scare he played with a few weeks ago versus the Lakers. So on the season, it was a decent year for Aldridge in his last season in the NBA, unless he gets things corrected and he comes back in a few seasons. But he was 13.5 points a game, 4.5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.2 threes a game, 87% from the foul line, and 47% from the field. So a decent season it was for Aldridge in his 15th season. And it's just unfortunate he was going to chase that ring and try to get his first title as a ball player, which is well-deserved for a veteran like Aldridge, who's had a great career with Portland and had a good few seasons in San Antonio before getting bought out and going to Brooklyn. But it's fantasy basketball, and there's just no reason to hold on to him because he's not coming back this season, and probably not at all if he's going to stay retired. So that's a few centers I would drop here in Week 17 of the fantasy basketball season.